What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video, on first take, they're going to be talking about running back Todd Gurley and how he's just been traded from the LA Rams to the Atlanta Falcons. So let's see what they have to say about that.
Todd Gurley is the newest member of the Atlanta Falcons after being let go by the Los Angeles Rams yesterday and tweeting that he was being fired on his day off. Immediately, he has picked up a new contract with the Atlanta Falcons on a one-year deal. Financial terms not disclosed at this particular moment in time. Max, before I get to you, let me welcome to the show Swagoo himself, Marcus Spears. There was technical difficulties going on with Molly Kim Rose. As a result, I'm holding down the fort until we can get her stuff together. Swagoo.
Uh-oh.
I just wanted to educate you about the rules and the regulations. I am not Molly, okay? You will speak when spoken to. You will cut it short when I tell you
this is
to.
An abuse of
and
power.
Max Kellerman has already been informed of the same. Stephen A. Smith is running the show right now, okay? You understand?
Hey, sometimes you got to crack that whip.
This is an
rules
abuse
and
of power.
regulations.
I vote
Swagoo.
to impeach.
Do you understand?
Well, I hope Molly hurry the hell up and get our audio fixed so we can get you back in your role of just talking noise.
That's right. Well, you just watch your mouth and you watch your manners. And remember, you will speak when spoken to. Max, the floor is yours. Todd Gurley is a member of the Atlanta Falcons. How do you feel about this fit?
I mean, who is Todd Gurley right now? We don't.
Wait a minute, let's not act like Todd Gurley didn't help the Rams get to a Super Bowl last year. Now, he may have had a bad year last year, but let's not act like he didn't make a huge dent on why the Rams went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. I know they lost, but still, that's the type of production I would like out of a running back to assist my team in getting to the Super Bowl. So let's continue.
Is he going to stay on the field? And when he's on the field, is he the same guy? To me, pretty clearly, the answer is no, or he'd still be on the Rams. Guys, as your favorite Stephen A. Warren Sharp Analytics, tweeted out yesterday that when this went down, the Rams had a fifth-year option on Gurley. They could have exercised that option, and that would have taken place last year, and there's no contractual obligation to him anymore. Instead, they got to eat that money. Look, we talked about this yesterday as it relates to Derrick Henry, and we talked about Derrick Henry in previous weeks about, they franchised him, it's messed up for running backs, but that's the reality. Stephen A., Swagoo, this is what happens to teams who give running backs big deals. This is why I'm up here saying, and by the way, running backs of America, I love you, I got nothing against you. I think there should be rules changes for that position, specifically in terms of how you get paid and when, because it's so messed up. But the argument...
So I don't know if I agree with that, but I'm pretty sure that teams take into account the shelf life of a running back, which is generally not as long as other positions. So if they're going to draft a guy top 10, top 5, they know that guy is going to be a baller. Everything checks out for him, and the expectation would be of him to have a good 4 or 5 years for that team and give them a strong push to the Super Bowl, like what Todd Gurley did. And like I said, it's not like they're drafting a guy that's a third rounder or fourth rounder, but they're drafting him as like in the top 10. It's not like they're drafting a scrub. Whoever they get, and it's going to be a top pick as a running back, the guy's going to be a baller. So I don't know. Let's continue.
Against drafting running backs up high is, well, look, it's not a good idea. You can approximate that value lower in the draft. But if you have a Gurley, a Saquon, an Ezekiel Elliott, someone like that you can kind of build an offense around, you can draft them up high.
Yeah, but again, that kind of goes without saying. But like I said, because if you're going to draft a running back, or really any position in the top 10 or top 5, that guy is going to be a baller. You feel very confident in his ability to come in and give you a good 4 or 5 years, like the names she just said about Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley, and a couple other guys. So I don't know. Let's continue.
You elite production for the first 4 or 5 years. You can franchise them once or twice if they're still healthy, and then you can give them a small guarantee because by then they're 27 years old. They're going to have a couple years more of production. That makes sense for teams. I'm not talking about what's fair, guys. I'm talking about the reality. What the Titans did with Derrick Henry was smart, even if it was messed up. What the Rams did with Gurley was stupid, even if it felt like the right thing to do.
Yeah, but how stupid could that have been when, like I said, he got helped the Rams get to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. If I draft a running back and he's a high pick, and if I can get to a Super Bowl with him being a major factor, I would feel like that was a justified pick, even if he does start to get hurt those injuries start to pile up after the fourth or fifth year. I'd say you kind of got your money's worth. So let's continue.
Here we are.
Swagoo, you may speak.
Well, Max,
Go ahead.
It's two parts to this, man. First of all, I think when Todd Gurley got that deal, he was viewed as more than just a running back out of the backfield. The second thing is, and I don't know this particularly, but I have talked to people around the league. I don't think Todd Gurley is healthy. Todd Gurley has a degenerative knee. I dealt with that. When you tear a meniscus, he had ACLs, but you can come back from those. But I think he has a degenerative knee. And I believe the LA Rams did him a service by keeping that kind of under wraps and not forcing pressure on Todd Gurley. If you remember throughout the season, they gave him rest. They limited carries. They limited his time on the field. I believe that they took care of Todd Gurley as much as they possibly could, realizing that he had a knee that was going to continue to deteriorate throughout his year. Hence now, you see the Atlanta Falcons giving him a one-year deal. And I really believe that this is a good move by the Atlanta Falcons. Todd Gurley can still be productive. He had 800 plus yards rushing last year. So it's not like he can't add some type of value to what you're trying to do offensively. Atlanta zone scheme, he thrives in that, sticking his foot in the ground, getting downhill. But to your point, Max, this is the second thing I want to reiterate. Now you see in free agency a lot of these guys doing 3-year deals. And I spoke with my former agent, Pat Dye Jr., about why are we seeing so many 3-year deals? Because that's where the money is. That's where
Exactly. So I don't mean to cut him off, but that 3-year deal is perfect for running backs because, like you said before, their shelf life of a running back isn't too long. So if you're in that window for 3 to 4 to 5 years, you're still going to get good production out of your running back before those hits start to add up. So let's continue.
Can get the guaranteed money. That's really what's important. And when you see these long, extenuated 5, 6, 7-year deals. So with that being said, this is smart for the Atlanta Falcons to get Todd Gurley. The new structure of contracts now are going to be these short term because the only thing people are really concerned about is the guaranteed money. I think it's good. I think the running backs will be in a better position for it. And I guarantee you Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley will get a lot of money when they're up for their deals.
Yeah, definitely. They would definitely get a fat deal. But let's take a quick look at Todd Gurley's numbers from last year. So for 2019, he ranked out at the 11th overall running back. So last year he ran the rock 223 times. That's 17 amongst all running back, and the worst for his career. He ran for 857 yards. That's 20th overall for running backs, but the worst in his career. He had 12 touchdowns. He ran the ball, or his average was 3.8 yards a run. So Todd Gurley, he didn't have the best of years last year, but I still think he still has some juice in the tank. Like I said, he was at the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So I can't imagine him falling off that much. I know it's injury, but what is he, like 25 right now? So I think he still has another good year or two in his prime to play before he completely falls apart. So let's take a quick look at the Atlanta Falcons. So they picked up Todd Gurley. Last year's record was 7-9. Matt Ryan's going to be his quarterback. He ranked that as the 5th overall quarterback. And wide receiver that will complement Todd Gurley would be Julio Jones, and he's the 2nd overall best wide receiver in the league. So it's going to be a good situation that Todd Gurley is going to be going to, and he definitely has the weapons to make a strong push to get to a Super Bowl. So, and plus he knows how to win because he's been there before.
Well, I think the thing about it, guys, is that, number one, he's not the only running back that they're going to be relying upon. That's number one. You got to remember, he had 33 less carries last season than he did the season before, even though he had played an additional game. He only played in 14 games in 2018, played in 15 games this past season, but still had 33 less carries. So we got to understand that. But when you look at a guy like a Derrick Henry, for example, and he has 303 carries, when you remember what DeMarco Murray did with the Dallas Cowboys having over 300 carries that year, you see some of the elite elite running backs and the kind of pristine years that they had, it's usually over 300 carries. Todd Gurley has never had that load and never carried that load in his NFL career. And so clearly with the degenerative knee that Swagoo just alluded to, we can't ignore that because we all saw some dissipated level of skill set or abilities on his part last season compared to what he did the previous year when they went to the Super Bowl. We even saw him limited to some degree in the playoffs and ultimately in the Super Bowl against New England the year before this past season. So you take all of those things into consideration. We now understand why the Rams did what they did. But then we go and we move over to Atlanta. What do you have there? You've got Julio Jones. You still got an experienced quarterback in Matt Ryan. You got Calvin Ridley. So you've got elite wideouts along with, they've always run by committee with Freeman and Coleman at once upon a time. Now you're going to add Curley to the mix. I think it's a situation that could potentially...
He said Curley? Anyways, so I think, like I said, Todd Gurley is going to end up in possibly a good situation